with punish, got him to do it, and then with punish too. That was interesting. Once again, NovaSpec now on match point. No meter to work with, but not the matter. Foo Stamps needs to find that same way in he found last time. Oh, that's not it. Forcing your way in is not it. A little bit more, pushing him to the corner. Nice anti-air. Oh, got hit. Yeah, and he's able to convert off of that through the counter hit. Oh, hit on the same side. Wasn't ready for it. Oh? Had NovaSpec been ready, he could have comboed off of that. That's so, oh yeah, that's so minus. Yeah, that's just character unfamiliarity right there. Foo Stamps didn't know how minus that was. Didn't commit. He, he pushed strong.
Yep.
And he found out.
Hey guys, it's Philosopher here, and I'm at Combo Breaker 2018, and I am with Crescent NovaSpec, who is also a Fong main, which is very great. I don't get to talk to too many of those, but a very good Fong main as well. So I wanted to talk to him about his experiences, see how he's doing at Combo Breaker, and just overall just learn as much as I can, and hopefully you guys will get something out of it too. So I guess the first question is, what made you choose Fong?
The reason I chose Fong is because in the beginning Street Fighter 4 days, which was the first game I started out with, I played Cody, and then I made the swap to Gin around Arcade Edition whenever he was really good, and around the same time that Xian made the come up with Gin. And both Gin and Fang shared the same aesthetics, both old, really creepy Chinese looking dudes with big robes, and they were all purple and shit.
Yeah.
And it was really cool, and I enjoyed that character model and the way he played, and he seemed like a really just annoying. He could be offensive and defensive as well. That's what I really like about Fang, is that he can't be played an entirely lame style. But I started out with him in Season 1, and honestly, he's been who I've just been stuck with for the past 2.5 years of the game. I've learned Ed on the side, but I unfortunately can't unlearn Fang, so he's mainly who I use in tournaments. Yeah.
So when it comes to people's perception of Fong and dealing with that, what's been your experience, and how do you deal with that?
For the first two seasons of Street Fighter V, I honestly think that a lot of people lost to Fang because of lack of matchup knowledge. Because one, there's not that many Fang players in the world right now. Currently, the last I checked, for the Season 3.5, the last monthly character usage list that they had, Fang was less than 1%.
Wow.
Yes. So, not many people play Fang, not many people get to play against Fang, and mostly it's the knowledge of, okay, I'm going to tournament, I'll maybe fight one Fang in a blue moon. I hope I don't run into one, and most people just didn't study his frame data or knew much about how to get out of his really basic setups. Whenever a Fang uses meter and you just see a bunch of stuff on the screen, most people just get scared, and that's half the intimidation with Fang, is just the fear aspect of not knowing.
Yeah. So when it comes to someone who actually does know the matchup and knows the frame data and stuff like that, how do you usually deal with that?
I usually deal with it by playing a much more lamer defensive Fang instead of going ham and just knowing that my opponent doesn't know the setups that I'm doing and what's really plus and negative about him. And honestly, I believe that a lot of people are way more comfortable in the Fang matchup now than not, because he's been out for so long, and every little bit that he does get on stream, you get to see a little bit more, and you see most top tier characters fighting against Fang, so if it's your character, you can watch the matchup happen there and learn it from there, because you're gonna run into a Fang on ranks maybe 2 times a month.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously playing in tournaments is going to be always different than playing, casuals or online and stuff like that. So when it comes to, just the emotional side of things, what's been your experience and how do you deal with it?
Whenever I first started traveling out, I was able to make it out of my pools for 2017 at every tournament that I went to, and it was the nerves of getting to fight those top players, getting to fight against the people you've been watching on stream, going up on stage every now and then, and you're like, okay, I'm about to fight them, I hope I don't choke or just embarrass myself or anything like that. You always get those back thoughts in your head, but you just have to leave them out and just focus on your setups of what the frame data is, how this guy plays, what you've seen of him, and just those different aspects, and just really just controlling your emotions and coming to a calm level. Starting to do that recently, and just over the year, just getting to And also you have to worry about people behind you, the constant commentary. If you don't have Dead Serious guys, headphones are a lifesaver. Not all tournaments have the setup for it, but luckily Combo Breaker did. They didn't provide headphones, but if you brought your own, just plug it in, you're golden. And that honestly was like got me through a lot of my matches because I was able to focus in on the gameplay and just tune out all the background noise, because whether it's cheering or whether I'm getting booed, it still affects your mental gameplay because you're being watched and you're being judged in real time. But I've honestly gotten a lot of my tournament nerves out. It's just perfecting my gameplay and not making little mistakes that end up costing me the game near the end. But every tournament is a new experience, and you can only level up if you keep going.
Yeah. So I think it's obvious that like working on, improving in high stress situations, like have you found any other way to get that high stress situation outside of a tournament, or do you think like it's exclusively tournaments when it comes to that?
It depends on really your perspective about Street Fighter V and how you attribute practice, growth, and like what you really count as like making progress. Because most people who would just play online, they might hit like Grandmaster or Master Rank and still drown in pools. But it's like, oh, I'm really good online. Why am I not doing good offline? Or I'm really good offline. And most people who would play offline don't even really play much online. Like I know Shin is a Super Diamond. Got a like F champ. I don't even think has passed Diamond yet. But like he just messes around with the game. And even then, like most people will stay on Rookie and just grind casual matches or battle lounges because they'll play certain players because they like seek out the matchups and not just playing. The one thing I like really think is good about rank is that puts you in the tournament mindset of just 2 out of 3 left and right. Here you go, game, game. And just being able to have that like endurance in you to, if you're making it all the way throughout pools and you finally make it out, okay, just like one match after another, just keep going.
Yeah.
You really like just raise your endurance. So you can learn stuff from online, but you learn way more offline in a major tournament setting.
Okay. So when it comes to, obviously congratulations on your sponsorship recently. How long ago was that?
This happened in March, I believe.
So fairly recent. So far, what has been your experience with that?
My experience, I signed on with Crescent in March, and they've been a very supportive company. They help pay for me to go to these events, and we represent. We have Strike. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's on the back.
Strike Force.
Strike Force Energy. If you use the code Crescent, you can get up to 20% off. That's my little ad for the day.
Yeah.
But we recently acquired them for a partnership, and we're just an up and coming company from Louisiana, and we're just here to enrich the esports community with that little spice of Louisiana.
Yeah.
Think Popeyes to fried chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they've been really awesome to me, and honestly, I haven't been doing as well as I would hope to for 2018 season. I'm not doing as well as I did in 2017, but like I have yet to make it out of pools, but every time I've like spoken to them about my progress and results, they've always been very supportive, and they just want me to learn and like get as much out of this experience as I can, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity that they've given me. It allows me to travel, play more top players, and not just like keep grinding online at home and figure out if I'm really actually progressing or not.
Yeah. So what's that experience been like, traveling more, playing more players, and getting more experience?
It's been really wonderful, honestly. Sometimes the Louisiana players will come out as well, so we all get to just like hang around, visit out of state, and God, whenever it's just usually like you're a little nervous, like going up to top players, like, hey, can I get a few sets with you or whatever? But most top players are actually like very nice people and will gladly give you some if you can even find a setup and if you're willing to kick people off.
Yeah.
But no, it's been really wonderful because I'm able to talk to people after matches and really like dissect my gameplay and what happened. And if they're willing to give me advice or just like mild pointers, either way, it just you get more aware of what's happening in your own gameplay. And one thing I did this tournament that I haven't done is I recorded every single one of my pool matches for Street Fighter V. So once I go home, I'm gonna look back and study and see where my mistakes were and what I actually did well on. Because that's one thing I honestly don't think people do enough is look at their own replays, look at their wins, and look at their losses.
Yeah. Actually, what's your process for like when you're watching your videos? What specifically are you looking for, and then like how do you document it? Like what's your process with that?
Basically, what I'm going to look for in these matches is I made a few input errors and mistakes that ended up like losing me a huge chunk of momentum. So it's really focusing on, okay, this setup I really messed up, so I need to go and grind that in the lab and like drill it out a little bit in my head, and then putting myself back in situations where I fought Cool Kids Abigail today, and he did this setup. I forgot off of what, but he did a jump medium kick, and it was extremely ambiguous. But I was able to record it, so once I go home, I'm gonna replay that setup and like, okay, how the hell do I block this? So like that's one thing that you can really do, because like you're able to see in Street Fighter V, it's a game all about momentum and hard reads, and if you can figure out the one point in the match where the momentum fell off and you just got snowballed from that point on, that's honestly like what I believe in Street Fighter, is that it's a one mess up game where you can do so well,
Especially
and then you mess up one time. That's all it takes.
Yeah. What's your process when you pinpoint where the momentum changed? Like, what do you do when you see that?
I see what the effects that it caused and what happens after they get that big chunk of damage, because usually it's from a mega jump in or just like a light confirm into a V trigger. So it puts your opponent at the advantage to like put you in mix-ups and put you in setups to where you have to block and guess right. And if you just figure out where you just started guessing wrong every single turn because the momentum shifted in their favor, you can again go lab those setups, take a look again, or just like look and realize, it was in the heat of the moment. I literally just flinched at that moment. It's basic human error. We're all only human, and honestly, I learned that a little bit playing Cool Kid, because like I was honestly like petrified of his Abigail, even though I believe Fang does extremely well against Abigail. But I was able to take like a really convincing game 2 off of him. But I actually made one mistake at the beginning of the third game, which cost me a lot. Whenever Abigail does his charge punch, any of the charge punches, Fang can cower crouch underneath, and I tried doing that, but I got too scared, and it was just, I was aware of the matchup knowledge, but I was just still, my nerves were in control of me during that game.
Yeah. But what's good is that you actually noticed that, and that's something that you can probably learn from and grow from, I would assume. Yeah. Okay. So I want to go back to like talking about esports a little bit, because I know we talked about it offline a lot, or for a little bit, about the idea that people's perceptions of esports and how some people are really against it, and they're more so for the grassroots. Like they're more so for grassroots versus like esports, things like E-League perhaps. I want to know like what your mindset is when it comes to the idea of esports, and then just like your. I'll leave with the second question in a second, but I just mainly want to know what your thoughts are on the esports for right now.
My thoughts on esports from recently getting into it, it's honestly not something that's going to take away the grassroots. I'm assuming the whole esports thing is just like having a sponsorship, having a team behind your back, and the huge televised public events with big cash money. I don't understand why people are against having larger prize pools and more events and more exposure for the fighting game community, because I understand that people want to keep it at a grassroots level, and I honestly can't compare and like relate, because I only got involved with the community during Street Fighter 4 time. So, but I got to experience, I guess, the last end of the grassroots whenever like Mike Ross and people who like were dismayed by esports like went away from the Street Fighter community. I was able to get that last little bit and see what it was really about, and I enjoyed it. And honestly, it's just evolving. That's the main thing. I believe that if Street Fighter and other fighting games want to continue to grow and succeed, and aren't Dragon Ball Z with a big anime name behind them, they have to do this kind of stuff. And even Dragon Ball's like mega jumping on the esports train right now, because they know they can overtake Street Fighter 5, and it would be like very easy because more people know Dragon Ball Z over Street Fighter. But all it is just more exposure and more reason for other people to want to play these games, whether it be for pride, whether it be for money, whether it be for fame, all that. Everybody plays these games for a different reason, and honestly bringing the next generation in with the enticement of esports, I guess, and them not having to worry about it dying out or anything like that, because honestly, once you lose the grassroots people, who do you have left? Like, where is Street Fighter going to be in like 15, 20 years? if all the top players and OGs are like just dropping out and doing their own personal life stuff.
Yeah.
But again, for most of them, Street Fighter is life. But if you want to be able to get back with the community, it's constantly bringing in all these people, and even all these events. I don't think they're considered esports, but just like they're at a big level and they get hundreds and thousands of viewers on Twitch, and it's all about exposure and just like letting people know that this is becoming a real thing, and hopefully the FGC can really grow and mold and fit into the esports category, like all the MOBAs and shooters and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with what you're saying, and to kind of build on that, something that I think when it comes to like esports versus like the grassroots thing is that one, FGC, things like this are a ecosystem. You know, it's not just the players and the TOs. There's a whole entire group of people that make the whole entire thing work and help promote it and help it grow. And I think what is interesting is that a lot of people are for grassroots, but those same people that, from what I've observed, a lot of times aren't willing to put in the work to make that scene grow and thrive. But when it comes to esports, I think the biggest thing that most people are nervous about is that outside corporations are coming in and giving their money, and people are becoming inauthentic.
I guess in a way that shouldn't be a worry, but also at the same time, we're getting cool little things. We're getting involvement from other companies that you wouldn't expect to get involved, like Geico, hello, why? But they're making it work, and they're like really giving back, and it's giving people more of a reason to play other than just to grind and drown in pools. Okay, next tournament, grind, go into a pool. It's literally just to try and get more people enticed. And honestly, like the E-League TV show, that was very interesting to watch. I liked honestly like all the little mini challenges that they did, playing in the mirror and like getting to choose your opponent's character and all that fun stuff. It was like that kind of like uniqueness to fighting games needs to be added and expanded on more. And honestly, with the release of 30th anniversary, Smash Switch is coming out, and apparently the PS4 is hitting at the end of its life cycle soon, so we're going to get the next string of fighting games on the next big system, and it's only going to just grow from here. And just, I understand that the FGC wants to stay grassroots, but esports literally means it's just that you're on television now, more people are watching you. This is not the underground fight club that you have to get past a bouncer to get in for, and you have to prove yourself worthy. Everybody is allowed to play, and everybody has been allowed to play, but it's just more exposure for all those people at the end of the day. And honestly, if I know it's like the whole thing about the grassroots FGC is just being loud and just like having fun and like not being as civil and like stiff doing the whole esports pose thing. FGC is really all about personality and everything, and that's what like most sponsorships and people look for in players is personality, skill, and just their ability to network and grow in the community. Mm-hmm. And people who have been doing that since the beginning are only gonna like benefit more from it because of esports.
Yeah. Okay. And the last question that I have is, if someone came up to you and was like, "Man, I want to do what you're doing. I love like, how did you get sponsored?" Like, if they wanted to do what you're doing right now, the path that you're on, like, what advice would you give them?
My advice to other people is, I will say that I started out with Street Fighter 4 and did not become acquired or sponsored or even like really a part of a team until like midway Street Fighter 5 Season 2, and it's just a hard process and a hard grind, but outside of like making yourself better at the game you're in, it's also about networking, using social media and being really involved online with everything FGC related. Twitter, I think, is the biggest hub for FGC related content. Then you have all the sites like Event Hub, you can Facebook. It's just making yourself an icon and making yourself unique and want to be known. I mean, results obviously do matter, but also just your personality. You can be a content producer and get sponsored. You can be a lab monster. You can be a constant streamer. It's literally just like pursuing your passion and just not giving up on it. Because it took me 8 years to get sponsored, and I was still going to final rounds, CEOs, and all the events that I could make it out to out of my own pocket. And now I'm getting that extra help to be able to go to more events because it's just something I still would like to do, even if it wasn't sponsored. I do enjoy playing fighting games, and I would like to continue doing this as long as I can. And literally, the sponsorship is just extra help for me to grow and develop as a player and be able to go to all these events.
Yeah, so put into work first before you seek help, essentially.
Yes, it's you can build like a little FGC resume. That was something I submitted, and Crescent was honestly not the first place that was interested in picking me up. But you have to also be careful about like esports organizations who are like recently coming up and starting, because I was going to get involved with 2 other ones. Because this person on Twitter was very interested in getting me sponsored on their team, but she went from like two different esports organizations in like 2 to 3 months, and all of them like fell into each other. So it's being aware of like not just taking, oh hey, here's a jersey and that's it. I know some organizations offered just like hey, if you wear our jersey, then that's it. Here's a jersey, and that's your sponsorship. It's literally just figuring out what's going to benefit you in the long run, and you pursuing FGC and esports as like, I guess, a career more than a hobby. You can make this more than a hobby, but treat it as such first. Focus on your own personal life, and eventually, like, things will naturally fall into place. Okay. Networking, grinding, content, and social media use. Those are the keys to getting sponsored.
Cool. I got one last follow-up question I just thought about, and this is actually for a friend, because I spoke to them recently and they kind of stopped competing, and I asked them, why did they stop competing? Why did they stop, training? And it was because it just wasn't super fun. So I would love to know what you think about, having a dream or a goal that you want to work towards, but maybe not everything about it is enjoyable, and what your experience been with that.
At the end of the day, if you don't enjoy playing the game, then you're just making yourself miserable. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you don't like Street Fighter V, you don't like Marvel, if you don't like Tekken, you don't have to play them. If you want to compete and do well, yes, you have to find like some mild enjoyment about the game, or else you're just making yourself miserable from playing, and you won't learn that way. And unfortunately, to your friend, I'm very sorry to hear that there's not a local scene or like anywhere close by, because that was honestly the key factor in me evolving as a player. Because yes, you can grind online and do as much as you can with that, but if you don't have a local scene, if you don't have people that you can consistently play offline, like I ran a first to 50 with one of my local Laura players. Our final score was like 50-37, and he won. But that was just like a big endurance run. You get to socialize, you get to hang out with friends, and honestly, like we all connect over video games, and it's just really crazy. And the local scene is the main reason that I grew Louisiana. I'm very grateful to Gods of Louisiana, GOL, 482, RNG, TSS, all those people and organizations down in Louisiana. They have helped me grow and evolve as a player to get where I am today. And gotten money matches, grudge matches, local tournaments. We recently had South Louisiana Major Slam, which is Louisiana's newest major. We're hitting our 4th year next year, and we do every single game on the map and then some. And if I didn't have the local community, honestly, I wouldn't have gotten as far into the game as I did. But my best advice to your friend is to make that local scene happen. If there was really nobody in the community to play with him at all.
In my opinion, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think perhaps maybe he just didn't try hard enough to find those people. I don't want to.
No, it's not even that. They are scattered apart, because in Louisiana they're all scattered in a lot of the major different cities, but we just have to meet at a central. We have to all commit to the drive and meet at a central hub that we all agree on, and it's literally just finding as much as you can. And even if it's like an hour or 2 away, then like you might just have to bite the bullet at that point. I've known people who would travel like 3 hours just for a casual session, just to hang out and learn as much as they can and play offline. Most people just really enjoy being around the local scene, and honestly, as long as locals keep happening, grassroots FGC won't die, because esports can invade every single event, and if you just continue to support your locals, you will have those grassroots FGC events, hype moments, people acting up and not having to care that esports is watching over them. It's literally all about just having fun at the end of the day. If you can't find enjoyment in fighting games, then I would recommend pursuing something that you do find enjoyment in, because just yes, there are fun aspects about fighting games, but if you're not enjoying it at the end of the day, then you're just gonna like make yourself miserable, not want to continue on at a certain point, and just realize you might have wasted your time doing something that you really did not enjoy at the end of the day.
Okay, well, awesome, great advice. I like that. Last thing is this, what do you have going on, and where can people like find out more about you or your organization?
I'm going to be competing in a few more tournaments. They have a side Sailor Moon S tournament and Ultra Street Fighter 4. Sailor Moon S is the most broken game out there. There's like full screen command dashes, throws that do like Half-Life, projectiles that do 75, that do more on block than on hit. That game is busted. So okay. I'm gonna just go and play that and have fun. And then Ultra Street Fighter 4 is happening tomorrow. Everybody, I can be followed on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at NovaSpec, NovaSpec. And my organization can be followed at Crescent GG. Crescent Esports, you can find them on Twitter. We also have a Discord where we love to get new people in the community. We have streamers, Hearthstone players. Me and Urban Flow are our Street Fighter players, and then we have Crescent Doza, who is our Dragon Ball FighterZ player. We're just an up-and-coming organization, and we're trying to just really get our footing in esports, and I think we're like having a really good start.
All right, well, thank you for joining me on the show. This has been super insightful. Hopefully, other people enjoyed it as well.
Thank you very much for having me.